All right, so video on sheets, and we're talking about doing some more calculations, and this should also help you when you're understanding velocity and displacement. So kind of multiple purpose video, right? Hopefully helps you with a couple things. Okay, so what I want to do with this data, this is running data, right? This is like, hey, we are doing 4 different kinds of runs, just a reminder of what we did. Running as fast as we can, right? Walking kind of at like a leisurely pace, starting slow and then getting faster, and then kind of the opposite, starting fast and getting slower, okay? These are all on a 40-yard dash, all right? So these times, and I have my different class periods. I just picked second period because why not? And what we want to do first maybe I want to find like the average, right? Just a helpful thing to get. It doesn't always give you information that's useful, but a lot of times it doesn't hurt to have, and a lot of times it is useful to have. So is water. So how do we do this? How do we calculate averages? Hopefully you say, I remember, right? But what I want to focus on with this video, at least to start out, is organizing your data. So right now I have these data, this data table that's very nice looking. I have good labels. I have my units. Everything is nice and, looks very clean, right? It's not jumbled everywhere. It looks pretty good. So instead of me making it look worse, I'm going to add a new sheet. Okay, and I'll probably name this sheet. You see, sheet 19 is a terrible name. Maybe I'll call this something like calculations or something like that. Okay, averages, calculations. The name doesn't really matter all that much. You can call it Steve. However, you're probably not going to remember what Steve is if you click on it in a couple months. But calculations, you'll say, oh, it's probably something with calculations. Reasonable. And let's give these titles. So I guess maybe the fast average. Don't forget the units. Right, very important. Reminder, you can always double click between the columns. That'll resize it to fit whatever's written there, okay? So we'll type this in nice and quick. Again, hopefully showing you some of these skills here while we're typing it. So we have slow to fast, average in seconds, and finally the fast to slow, average in seconds. All right, oops. You can always undo with Control-Z if you need to. All right. And calculating this is pretty easy. We say equals average. Go back to our data. In this case, I pick second period, right? And I say everything in A. Give me everything in A. And it says divide by 0. And I say, uh-oh. Say, why is that? Well, let's check it. It says second period A through A. And then I say, oh, it's because I clicked on the initials, right? Well, that ain't going to work, right? These are not numbers. So you go back, and how do you fix this? You could delete the whole thing if you wanted to, or go in here and just change it. Okay, you can change what's written in here. I go back to second period. I want B in this case. Again, you make mistakes. Don't panic and say, oh, it's not working. You say, what's the error saying? All right? And the cool thing is I can click this and drag it to the side, and I get my averages. Okay, so hopefully you're saying, oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty nifty. We can change the number of decimal places. We've talked about this before, but let's get it to 2 decimal places. Now I have these averages, okay? Well, that's nice. I like this. Nothing wrong with that. But this doesn't tell me a ton about like how quickly we are moving, right? Obviously, you can see that this is the fastest, right? This is the fastest of the averages. Hey, it makes sense because we were sprinting the whole time, okay? Obviously, walking is probably going to be the slowest. And then, of course, these two should be kind of the same. Could be the same, could be very close. Probably not that different, okay? And those two are going to be pretty important here pretty soon, but we're not there yet. If I want to find velocity, okay, I could come over here. I could say velocity. By the way, I'd always recommend leaving a blank column just to organize things a little more. You could also make a new tab if you want. It's up to you. Okay, I'm going to leave it on here just to prove a point. Velocity. Now, I'll say maybe fast velocity. The unit for velocity is meters per second. Okay, so this is different. And of course, you'd be saying, wait a second, these are in seconds. That's how much time it took. This is meters per second. This is how quick, the velocity, how much speed, being a little technical language here, how fast we ran it. Okay, what is our average velocity? Okay, I can take those and give them names. Piece of advice, you can always take these and copy them. Right? And I could paste those in. Uh-oh. Let's try that again. Paste those in. And, of course, I could just change in here, right? This is meters per second, and this, of course, is velocity. Okay, I don't know if it saves you that much time. Just, again, trying to give you skills. You notice up here I can also edit it up there, same difference. Trying to teach you different ways of doing this. So hopefully you got what works for you, what you personally resonate with, if that makes any sense. All right. Meters per second. And that's a velocity. And for those clever cats listening, you might say, hey, how come you didn't just take this and copy it over, right? I could have done that too, right? That way I don't have to type velocity 4 times, only 3 times, or only once, I should say. Anyway, how do I calculate velocity? You might be tempted to say, try typing in velocity, but you'll notice there is no function. Okay, Sheets does not have scientific functions. It has more mathematical, more statistics. Okay, this is not a statistics thing. So I have to tell it how to do it. Okay, I need my meters and I need my time. Well, my times are right here. That's nice. Now I need the displacement. Okay, recall that in velocity, it's displacement divided by time, meters per second. What is my displacement? This was a 40-yard dash, and you might be tempted to say 40. Well, a meter is not the same thing as a yard, unfortunately. Okay, it's a shame, but they're a little bit different. Okay, so to prove a point here, let's go over here maybe. Okay, again, I'm just trying to show you different ways you could organize your stuff. And I could say this is the displacement in yards, right? We started with yards, so let's do that. This was 40. 40-yard dash, simple. Over here, I can convert maybe to feet. Okay, and again, this is practice making sure you know how to do these conversions. So I can say displacement, and this is in feet, okay? Equals, well, there are 3 feet per yard, so I'm gonna take this number and I'm gonna multiply it by 3. 120 feet, that's 40 yards. Nice. And then lastly, what I'm really here for is this, displacement in meters, because I need meters. We use the metric system because it's better. Seriously, it is. Meters, how do I do it? There are 3.28 feet per meter, so I could say equals, take my feet and divide by 3.28. Okay, and I get this. And again, for this level, let's go ahead and round this down to the hundredths place. 36.59 meters. All right, cool, I got my displacement. Guess what I can do now? I can say, hey, computer, we're going to do a calculation. We're going to take my displacement, and we're going to divide by time. Okay, notice this is blocked here. Okay, just to prove to you that you can solve problems and not panic because you can't click on it, we could always do this. This divided by, we are on the calculation sheet, and we're looking for A2, so I can just say A2. And there it is. Okay, it said, what did I do? I took M2, which is the yards, and I divide by the time. And if I click and drag, you say it should work nice and neat for me, right? Carol's been saying how nice this is, but you'll notice you get 0. I'm leaving it here deliberately because if you click on this, you say, why isn't it working? N2 divided by B2. Well, what's N2? N2 is, there's nothing there, right? And if you say, well, let me copy this over, right? You'll notice now it's doing this, and you're like, wait, what? Remember, this calculation, L2 divided by 3.8. Now we're taking this number, M2 divided by, you see what's going on here? Okay, so how could I fix this problem? I could just type 36.59, right? And then click and drag, I could do that. That works. I could click this, I could copy it, and then I could click paste special, just the value, and then I could drag that, right? I have options, okay? Could you have done this calculation here and gotten rid of the stuff here? Could you have got, say, I don't need any more, get rid of it? I guess you could. How would you do that? You would click here, copy, paste special, values only, and then I could get rid of these if they're in my way. Okay. Again, there's many ways to do it, is the point. Okay. That's kind of what I'm trying to teach you here, partially. All right, so I go back to my calculations, and here are my velocities. Notice that once I updated it, now they are correct. Okay, and again, I'll grab all these at once, and I will say 2 decimal places, the hundredths place. Okay, cool, those are velocities. Nice, okay. And you make sense of this. You say, yeah, it kind of makes sense, right? The fastest velocity high, should be the highest one. Okay, the slow velocity we walk should be the lowest one. And again, these two should be pretty close, right? I mean, it depends on your data, but they should be comparable, is what I would say. Okay, hopefully that's making sense. This video will stop here. The next video, getting into graphing data, okay, which is very important as well. All right, so we'll pause it there. Have a good rest of your day.